y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortes NYC Livestream, the podcast. This show broadcasts twice a week out of New York City. We are your hosts, Cortes NYC, and this is a special episode of Cortes NYC. All right, this is episode 76. This is a special episode. Carla's not with us. I am here with my two favorite guys. I got Mr.Arc.
Hello.
And I got Mr. Kiano.
Hey.
In the house. And we are going to do a movie review episode. We just finished watching John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, and we had a great time. We've seen part 1, we've seen part 2, and we thought, you know what? I haven't done like an immediate movie review. Let's do it. Let's try to do it while it's still fresh in our heads, and build on that excitement of watching the movie. Just quickly, you guys out there, as always, remember I have an online store, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. You can go on there, check out some of my art. You can buy original art, you can buy stickers, you can buy graffiti pins, and you can help support your favorite artist, me. So go on there, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com, and check it out. All right, so let's get on with this, guys. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
All right. Nice little intro music there, Mr.Arc. Thanks for helping me out with that.
Yeah, no problem.
That was pretty cool. All right, so John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. This is the third installment of the John Wick series. We'll talk about the first two a little bit as well in this episode. I think we're kind of hooked on this little series. I think they could do a Chapter 4 and a Chapter 5. We'll probably still go see it because now we got to find out how it ends.
Yeah.
But this is Chapter 3. This is 2019. This is rated R. This is 130 minutes. This is an action crime thriller. And the summary on IMDb says, Super Assassin John Wick is on the run after killing a member of the International Assassins Guild. And with a $14 million price tag on his head, he is the target of hitmen and women everywhere. Basically, he's on the run. Now, there's a lot of movies like that out there of like guy on the run. Everybody's hunting the guy, blah, 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 blah. But this movie takes it to another level. They world build and they make a whole universe out of it. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So it's like super on the run. You're not just on the run. You're like really being hunted down by everybody and a secret society and all kinds of stuff. All right, Aiden, what do you got? What do you got to say about this?
So I think overall this was a really good action film, although sometimes it felt repetitive. Like there were a lot of flips and a lot of shooting that felt like, it was okay. Like, I don't know. It was cool to see. It was fun to watch, but overall, like, I think towards later in the movie, it felt like, all right, enough with this already.
Yeah. It could get a little exhausting. And I would say the first 15 minutes, you see some really innovative choreography, some surprising fighting scenes and setups, and you get excited.
Yeah, the fight choreography was amazing.
And then after like the first half, you start to get a little numb to the killing. You know, how many times can somebody get punched in the face?
Yeah, it felt a little unrealistic at times.
It can happen. I mean, but listen, the whole movie's totally unrealistic.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing, thing about that, about the movie was it kept me awake.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't sleeping on it. There was action around every corner. So it's a good take on their part.
Yeah.
Especially Keanu Reeves with his acting. He was phenomenal.
All right.
So, also, like, if anyone was wondering if this movie, falls short compared to the other movies, I don't think it ruins the franchise at all. I think it's a really good film overall.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it does stay consistent throughout the movie. I really don't think I ever felt bored watching it. I think I enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, for me, there was a little part, I would say somewhere around midway, where it kind of started lagging a little bit, and I started looking around, I started looking at the audience, I started looking at, Carla, I was like looking around, I was like, I started feeling like I'm my eyes weren't glued to the screen. But I think it's the it's the contrast, because you have such high impact scenes. How else are you have to come down from that? You can't just have high impact throughout the whole movie. So I understand it. Like, I understood why they had to slow it back down and kind of have some talking and some like just walking and kind of things to just make you see like the scenery and stuff like that. I kind of understand that. It's just the high intensity action, I think, is the thing. Like, you go to such a high, anything that goes below that is like kind of brings you down a little bit. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about the violence of the movie was it was beyond words. Everybody was gasping like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Like seeing, just imagining it in real life, in reality.
Yeah.
It shocks you.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's painful. It looks painful.
Yeah. I mean, so just a heads up for everybody listening to this. We're not going to do spoilers yet. We'll do spoilers in a little while. We're going to try to avoid any like big spoilers right now, because I think it's so brand new that I don't want to like just talk right out about it. But we'll try to tiptoe around some of the details. But yes, the fighting scenes, innovative. Definitely, they were like CGI enhanced fighting scenes. I think something about the first John Wick that I appreciated more was it wasn't so exaggerated.
Yeah.
It was a little more grounded in real fighting.
Yeah.
This one, it's all loose. Like they just let it all loose. They just really, if they needed the help of CGI, they went ahead and did it to get like those perfect throws or those perfect landing shots. Without getting into any details right yet, but there was a lot of things that you could tell would never happen, whether they're using a prop or they're using an animal. But there's a lot of things that happen in it that you're like inside you're like, yeah, that's so fake, but you're like, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's crazy.
Well, I did like some of the scenes that involved, like prolonged like chasing, like mainly like the getaway scenes when Wick starts running from all these other bad guys and everything, and it really puts you at the edge of the seat, like what's gonna happen next. Is Wick, is this his last stand? Right. But it was a good movie overall. I did like the lighting that was placed at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
But
so what else you got, Mr.Arc?
So another thing was definitely you can't just see the third one and understand it. Like, you actually have to see the first and the second one to understand the story and to understand the plots that are put into this movie.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too when it started. When it was first starting, I was paying attention to that, and I was thinking like, especially because we just came off of watching Endgame.
Right.
So I was kind of really very aware okay, so there's a series. How would I even talk about this? Could I recommend it? Would people have to know the rest of the movies? Part of me wants to say it didn't matter in the beginning, because they set it up very comfortably where it was like, there's a man on the run. They kind of have a few people explain some things, so you kind of understand a little bit of why he's on the run. I think if you've seen other action movies like The Bourne Identity or any of these other movies where it's a guy on the run, you kind of understand the formula, so you get it. Good guys, bad guys, secret organizations, like that's obvious. But then when they got later on in the movie and they started getting into details and they started getting into very specific things and very specific motivations, then I started thinking, yeah, you kind of have to have seen the first two. Like, yeah, what about it do you think made it seem like you had to watch the other ones?
So for one, this movie starts off right from where the last movie ended. So if you want to know like why he's on the run, they kind of reference it in this movie, but they don't really go into his whole like the reason why everyone's after him.
I mean, they did later on, and in the later part, they totally explain, who's guilty, who's responsible, who helped him, who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they explain what he did to be on the run. They explain he did this, he broke this rule, and you didn't see it, but they explain it.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's another thing where, there's certain items that are used in this movie that symbolize his past relationships with certain people in this movie, and I think those items, they're things that you kind of have to know what they are, I guess, like what they mean in this organization.
Right.
Which is talked about in both the second and the first movie.
All right, so how about this? How about, I would say you have to care enough about those items and those characters and all that to pay attention to the details of the dialogue.
Right.
To get it, you probably could work your way through it, but then why would you care if you hadn't seen the other ones? I get you. Okay. Right. What about the music? I know you guys are big into the music in the movies or video games and stuff like that. So what did you guys think about the soundtrack?
Well, the soundtrack, it was very fast paced. It didn't cease to, it actually captures the idea of, of John Wick killing and everything.
Yeah.
And it really, the one of, like, in John Wick 2, like, the soundtrack was good on its own. Like, when he went in a club scene and everything in the older movies, like, the music was what people liked.
Right.
In that movie. So seeing it in this movie wasn't really a big surprise to me, knowing that Keanu Reeves was in it and that he was performing all these crazy stunts.
Yeah, like I think in the beginning it caught my attention that they had still that synthesizer tech kind of feel, and it was grungy and grimy.
Right.
I think in part 2 they did mix more of that club scene kind of vibe, and they had like that kind of like rock / ballad kind of feel.
Yeah.
But now, like, I think they added a bit of like they added a bit of, I think, classical.
Yeah, this had like a very classical touch.
Right.
And in the last scene, without getting into spoilers, of course, there is like a record that's played.
Oh yeah.
But it's like an old school song, so it feels very like classical in a way.
Yeah, no, they had I mean, it's not a spoiler, I'm sure it's somewhere in a trailer or something, but they have like ballet scenes, a lot of ballet scenes.
Yeah.
Because one of the setups is related to somebody who teaches ballet. So and they kind of tie that in with fighting and like as an art. All right, what else you got in the notes there, Mr.? Or can we go on into spoilers? What do you think? Because I think you guys are holding back too much, and
yeah, it's really hard.
I think overall this is a really good movie. You should definitely go watch it, especially if you like action.
Okay.
It's really good.
All right, I agree. John Wick, you guys should go check it out. Let's get into spoilers now.
John Wick, excommunicado in effect in 3, 2, 1.
And away we go.
All right, Mr.Arc, so give us a list of your favorite things in the movie. Go ahead.
All right, so the most exciting scenes in this movie, one, straight off the bat, there was a library scene where it's John Wick versus this really tall guy.
Yeah.
And he kills him with a book.
Yeah, actually, that giant is actually a basketball player.
Really?
Yeah, I found that he was actually a basketball player.
Wow.
Yeah. That giant guy that he fought, that was totally throwback to like an old James Bond type of villain.
Like, I like how they were reading books, right? And then he came in and he said a quote from a book.
Oh yeah.
And like he told them like, you're getting old, Wick, and everything. And then John Wick was like, I know, and whatever. I think that's how it went, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like he gets into a fight with them, but he had a knife, and then he was using hand to hand combat with this really tall guy, and you're like, man, what if he just reaches over and stabs him? And sure enough, he stabs him on the shoulder, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, that fight was really cool because they used a book as a prop, fighting to an innovative way, stuck it in his mouth, jammed it in.
And you saw
Broke his jaw.
Broke his jaw.
Did you just see like his jaw
his neck.
dangling?
Yeah.
Like that was just brutal.
And then broke his neck on it. That was
Jesus.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see like the scale, like the fact that they made, because I know like Keanu Reeves is a tall guy, and then they made this other guy that's even taller, make him look like a giant, and he was palming his head like a basketball. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I like,
All right, what else you got?
So, the next thing is a knife fight, which comes right after the book fight.
Right.
Because all these people are trying to get after Wick.
So everyone's going after Wick for the bounty, and they stumble into like some type of museum, and there's knives on the walls and old guns and everything.
Yeah, because he's looking for weapons. He's looking for a gun.
Right, because he isn't allowed to get any help from anybody, so there's no way he could get weapons from anywhere.
So he goes into that room and he's looking for a gun, and then he gets a bullet, but the bullet doesn't fit the gun, and he tries to build his own gun, and then the guys are coming in after him, so he shoots one guy, throws the gun, and
right
then
through the doorway.
Then he starts getting into a knife fight, pulling whatever he can find. He even throws glass at a certain point.
Yeah.
And then like that corridor fight scene, that was like intense. Like I think it's the sound effects. Like when you hear the crunching and like the smashing, like
not
you
only
feel
that,
it.
but like when like he threw knives at a guy.
Yeah, he threw like 14 knives into one
like
guy.
They were in
who
like
was
a
down.
room full of knives.
Which is impossible for it to be real. Like that's kind of like
he'd be dead.
Yeah, well, not just that, but there's no way that you could do such a close range, throw knives into another stuntman. It has to be done by CGI, digitally, digitally enhancing the image to put the angle, do the little, digital knives flicking into him. You gotta make the stuntman, the actor, move it a certain way so it feels like it hit him. Like even that hatchet, when he threw that hatchet at the end of that scene.
Yeah.
Gotta give it to
to finish off that one guy.
All right, so one of the things that were like fake right around that area that did bother me was that horse scene thing.
Yeah. That felt all scripted.
Like they set up a fight, and then he ends up in a room in a stable with a bunch of horses, and then in order to fight off the guys, he starts smacking the horses. He didn't do it just once, he did it twice. That's what made it like, okay, you went too far. The first time was like funny. Second time I was like, really? Yeah. Where he smacks the horse in the butt so that the horse kicks the guy.
And they kicked him twice the second time.
Exactly. So, and it made it like the horses, he's using the horse as a prop for Kung Fu. That was a little cheesy. Yeah. But still kept watching. I was still into it. What else you got on your list there of things?
All right, so the next thing is after John Wick gets passage, he ends up meeting up with Halle Berry's character, and they go on a mission, and she has these dogs, and that fight sequence where her and John Wick are taking out all the guys and the dogs are helping.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was awesome.
That was, so when that was happening, I kept looking and thinking, like, this is straight out of like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to play Call of Duty and you used to sick the dogs on us, and it, it felt so fake when I saw like Halle Berry like scream for the dogs and the dogs jumped in, but it was fun. Like I think this movie walked a really good line between being really fake to be cheesy, but then somehow just keeping you entertained to say like, all right, it's okay, it's fake, it's fantasy, just keep going, show me more. But it was actually, I remember we were talking, we got out of the theater, it was fun to see how the dogs they trained the dogs to jump up and grab the people, but then do it at an angle where they would swing around.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was real though. I'm gonna look that up.
I would almost flip the people.
Yeah.
I feel like you could see the weight of the dogs being like when the dog bit on the guy's arm, like when he jumped right into him, he like swung him around in the air like a rag.
Yeah.
And then slammed him down like a wrestler. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I never seen
how
that.
he could handle him.
I've never seen Kung Fu dogs. So that was pretty cool. But I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna find out. I want to find out if that was real or not. If those moves were dogs trained to do some of it, and then maybe they CGI'd the rest of it to make the flip look realistic. I don't know. But also the dog had the dogs had bulletproof vests on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had bulletproof vests stored with extra pistols, just in case they ran out of ammo. I guess.
The thing that I was questioning about that was how, like, she, like the girl, what was her face? That was her character.
Oh, Sophia or something. That's Sophia. Something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Halle Berry's character. Yeah.
yeah, Halle Berry. Like she basically hit a gun in the dog's bulletproof vest. I'm like, how did that not slip out?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
if there was a pocket in there, then I would understand. But I didn't really care about that.
Well, I think that's where like the movie definitely is entertaining if you like video games, definitely. And then if you like action movies, it takes action movies to another level. What else you got there, Mr. Arc?
All right. So once John Wick comes back to New York, there's one fight sequence that comes right after these ninjas meet John Wick in Grand Central Station. Now they run right outside, and John Wick hijacks these guys off of their motorcycles, then takes one of their motorcycles, and everyone's chasing him. There's a bunch of ninjas on motorcycles with swords and all that.
Yeah, that
And,
was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
On
That's crazy. But I was wondering, like, how was the entire bridge how was the underside of the bridge empty?
Right.
And have you ever realized about that? Like, it was so empty and devoid on the bottom side. Like, was it closed?
Yeah, it kind of seemed unrealistic that it would be so empty.
Like
I
I
mean,
was on a boat under the bridge and I would just see a bunch of motorcycles, right? And I hear motorcycle crashes. I'd be wildly concerned. I'd be like, "What the hell is going on up there?"
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of explain that because in the end of the second one, you realize how many people are actually working for this organization, how many people are actually assassins.
True.
So you never know. I guess that kind of leaves it to the imagination. Like, all these people could be working for these the high table, they call it.
I have a conspiracy theory about this movie, and an idea that's brewing in my head of why all this stuff is so fake, and we still go along with it. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But
Yeah.
anyway, yes. Motorcycles chasing in New York City, awesome. Even if the bridge was empty, it was still cool. Reminded me of something out of Kill Bill. There's a scene in Kill Bill where she rides in on the motorcycles, or the gang rides in on the motorcycles, and she's behind them or something like that. And it just has that same kind of vibe. But here, there's actually fighting on the motorcycles, which is really cool. Even fighting on a horse.
Yeah.
When he was riding the horse and he's like side saddling the horse so that he can is hiding on the other side of the horse so he could shoot the motorcycle guy. Like, that was pretty awesome. All the sound effects when the motorcycles crash and flip, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was right on point. What else you got there?
So the final really exciting fight scene in this movie was probably the final battle, which was pretty much the all-out war in the Continental, which is after the Continental shut down, meaning all business can be handled in the Continental, which if you watch the other movies, you know that it's a rule that, you can't have any sorts of violence in the Continental.
Yeah, like the Continental is a hotel where all the assassins hang out or find like a resting place.
Right, it's a haven.
And so that's the whole reason why John Wick's on the run, is because he broke that rule in the previous movie, and the owner of the hotel helped him, and the other guy, the Bowery King, which is played by Lawrence Fishburne, he helped them also, and all these people that helped him, now they're like being judged by the high table, which is like the higher organization, the secret organization, the Illuminati organization, and
They're paying their fealty, I think they called it.
yeah.
Yeah, which...
And this Continental hotel is actually a building downtown. It's down by Wall Street. It's in a corner. I mean, you could, if you happen to be in New York City, just look it up. I'm sure there's some website or something that'll show you where that place is, that location is. But it's a legit building. And so in this building, once they decide that this building is no longer a safe haven, that it's off register, the high table decides this. Then they bring in all these like SWAT. Bulletproof team guys to go in there and take on John Wick and the owner of the hotel and everybody in there. And that scene is pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, I found this really exciting because even before, this entire thing started, he made a funny Matrix reference saying that he needed guns, lots of guns. And then with the guns they had, once they realized that their regular bullets weren't working, they told the manager, we need better firepower.
Yeah.
So they got bullets that pierce the armor, which is insane.
Well, it was kind of like shotguns.
Very
big shotguns.
High-powered shotguns.
And then
it's a little annoying though that they didn't use those right out the gate.
Yeah.
But of course you wouldn't know what to expect from a bunch of SWAT people. Like they basically went in there not knowing that they were with bulletproof stuff, and then they start shooting them. And then upon realizing that and trying to escape, then they got the big shotguns.
But the guy did tell him before they went in. They got the guy who worked with the hotel owner. He was telling him, his right hand man, the concierge of the hotel. He was telling him like, oh yeah, there's been some modifications. People are, better armored and all. He actually told them before they started, and he went in like that anyway. I didn't understand that. That kind of was a little shady. I was like, eh. And why didn't the guy from the hotel, if he knows that the other people have armor, why didn't he have armor?
Yeah, that made sense.
Or take a few guys down and then take their armor.
Right.
Like there was no strategy to that. Like it was kind of like they set themselves up.
They all walked out fine.
Yeah.
In the end, so.
All right, but yeah. So another thing, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the music, that scene you reminded me. That scene before when the SWAT team shows up, before the guys get into battle, as the SWAT team is setting up and all that, the owner of the hotel, he puts on a record and he puts on the classical music, and they show the SWAT team coming in with the lights on their guns and everything in the darkness. And they do make it seem very operatic, very like a dance. Like the guys are walking in formation and all that. Yeah. That was kind of cool. Yeah. That was really nice. I think the movie does that well.
Really interesting. All right.
What else you got?
So now to the more interesting aspects of this movie. So this movie explores more of the underground empire. Like, for example, it shows us more about John Wick's past, how he was trained to be an assassin, like his connections with Russia.
Yeah. Because he's the son. No, he was trained by one of the Russian organizations that are.
He was adopted.
He was adopted. He was like an orphan, yeah. And he was trained by the person. It's like a Russian organization that is not under the high table. They kind of like work with the high table in association with them, but they're a side organization.
Right.
But he has, like, he has a close connection, an unbreakable connection with them.
Right.
Above having a connection with the high table. And that's why he goes to look for help from them.
And this is how he gets passage with his only ticket. So that's something I found really interesting about this, that he was given certain items, which I talked about earlier. This is why you kind of need to know, I guess, what happens in the other movies, because they have these items that show, I guess, a bond between two characters. So for this, he had a cross, which was his ticket to get whatever help he needed, only for a one-time offer.
Right.
It was kind of like I like the sense of urgency at the beginning, like when he was trying to gather all his stuff. Well, not really gathering all his stuff, but he was trying to get all the resources he needs before he gets hunted down and killed.
Right.
Like, I like that sense of urgency. Like, he went straight to the doctor as soon as he got the stab wound from that really tall guy, that basketball player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ran to the doctor's office, and then he said, "You got like 30 seconds." And then he's stitching it up, right? And then at one point, like, he stopped stitching because time was up and he was excommunicado. And then he had to do it himself because all the services that he once had are now
void.
Yeah, stripped away from him.
All right, so the whole high table thing we talked about was interesting. There was one character who was with the high table, and she was like a very mysterious character in this movie. She's the one who hired the ninjas, and she's the one who goes and actually, like, I wouldn't say, no, she's the one who kills and judges all the people who helped John Wick in the past. So, for example, there's one case where...
Wait, you talking about the educator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's one case which I found it's a little ridiculous, and you'll see, we'll talk about that in some of the worst parts, but the Bowery King gets slashed 7 times for the 7 bullets he gave John Wick, and he's assumed to be dead, but, you know, in the end, you see that he's not dead.
But you know what's funny? Both the actors that survive at the end, like Keanu Reeves is Neo from The Matrix.
Yeah.
And the other guy was Morpheus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were saying. We were playing around with the idea that what if this whole thing is just a Matrix universe thing, and that's why it's so fake.
That would... I would be speechless about if that ever happened. If that twist happens...
I mean, it could be.
That would be amazing.
It could be. So if anybody knows The Matrix, you know that both these actors were in the Matrix trilogy, and The Matrix always had these not universes. They had this in The Matrix is like it's almost like an online environment, an online universe, and if you enter that place, you can have all the guns you want. You can shoot and kill all you want. You can have all the martial arts skills that you want, and I think this kind of resembles that a little bit in that John Wick had a lot of opportunities to kill a lot of people, and a lot of people had the opportunity to kill him and didn't, and kind of let him slide.
Yeah.
The thing that I actually...
it was weird.
The thing that really gets me is that the high table people, they're all wearing black, like the black suits, like the guys in the black suits. Like that, it kind of connects together. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
The similarities.
There are similarities.
So,
what else you got there, Mr.Arc?
All right, so I thought this movie had really good pacing, and I think the only thing that this movie lacked was it wasn't really like the strongest story. I think if you're really looking for a good story, the first one is definitely probably the best out of these 3.
Which one do you like better, Kiano? The first one, second one, or third one?
Well, I kind of like the second one was really crazy. I remember, but I did like the first one because it was kind of playing a revenge story.
Right.
And now it changed to a whole all-out war.
Right.
So I really like the old movie because it was just about a guy who lost his wife, and then he loses his dog, which was to commemorate his wife. And seeing that connection between him and his wife and him trying to do whatever it takes to get revenge really made it a good movie.
Yeah.
And seeing that he was feared by most people and was considered the boogeyman.
That's true. The first movie, I think the fact that it was a surprise that he was an assassin was what made it cool. It was like a regular guy with a regular revenge story, but then you learn that he's like a superpowered assassin.
It was a crazy twist.
And that was the twist. That was like wow, this is amazing, and this guy was really cool. I think at this point now nothing can surprise us.
Yeah.
Right? Because now now we're thinking like everybody's an assassin, and now we're even thinking like, is this the Matrix? Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's true.
So-
That's true. Go ahead.
I think, you know, really the worst part of this movie was the ending. It felt kind of short for me. Like, it was kind of confusing because it turns out that once they all decide to have they all decide to talk about a possible, agreement in solving these problems, with the whole war and the whole excommunicado situation. Winston, which is the manager of the Continental, pulls a gun on John Wick and shoots him off a roof.
I was surprised. I was shocked. I was like, what the hell?
I kind of expected that.
No, I expected it because he put the gun in his back pocket, but he was kind of like luring John Wick in.
Yeah.
So I expected that was going to happen.
I thought they were going to reveal that they had talked about it already. Right. They had pre-planned it
Yeah,
because it
that's what
looked
I thought.
obvious. So I was like, this is kind of obvious.
And because the guy who works at the front desk, he said, good job, sir, like something like that.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling that it was all planned, But then at the end, it didn't make sense because John Wick was really, really angry. And
Right, and he was really, and it looked like it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
It felt weird.
So I think that ending really didn't make sense. But you know, I know we're bouncing back here, but back to the final battle.
Yeah, the final fight scene with the samurai guy and the two little guys and
Right.
Yeah.
the leveling.
Right.
Like you're going up in levels to the big bad guy.
So Zero, which is this ninja guy who has a bunch of students, he sends his students to fight John Wick to prepare him for the battle with him, right? And
But they're basically sacrificing themselves because they're giving John Wick
the opportunity.
all the opportunities.
Right.
Giving actually in one scene actually giving him their hand and saying, "Here, stand back up,"
Yeah. So
which
I
was
like,
ridiculous.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, considering that they knew that John Wick was retired for several years. I mean, they must have, like, instead of killing each other unfairly, knowing that they're assassins, I'm sure they go by probably a code, or probably they just, they're trying to make it even.
I
so
don't know
that-
why though you would want to sacrifice yourself.
that's such a chance. Yeah.
And what for? I mean, you're what? So you're
You have the upper
what are you
hand,
doing?
kill him.
What's the point of fighting to the death if you don't fight to the death?
What's the point of even fighting?
Exactly.
If you-
For that, you just let him go.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless if the only thing that I was thinking that would justify that is if
Chivalry.
no, not even none of that. It's if the guy Zero, the top guy, if he would kill you. In other words, if he were to say, "You go prepare John Wick to fight me, but you don't kill him.
Right.
Yeah, because
If you kill him, I kill you."
Because he killed another guy. He killed one of the SWAT guys who was
Right.
gonna kill John Wick, and he's like, "No, only I'm allowed to
Yeah.
kill you."
Yeah.
Right.
Well, regardless, that's a horrible job to have. I don't want that job. I don't want the job of having to warm up John Wick in a fight. And
That would hurt.
I hated.
And
I
then you
hated,
die.
Yeah.
I hated the part when he kept saying, "Yeah, you're just like me." Then I was at the edge of my seat, like, "Go kill him, John. Just kill this man."
they actually showed a couple of parts that also made me feel like, is this some sort of weird Matrix surreal environment where they showed Zero being the bad guy and John Wick doing the ghosting thing, that they would disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
That made me feel like, is this all a dream? Is this all a fantasy situation? Why do they give these guys these powers?
I was kind of questioning. I was like, "What? Where did he go? Was it behind some other?"
Because they did a lot of things like
It was
that
just
in the
a-
Matrix,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
that's what made me feel like this.
where a
this,
crowd of people just walk past and he's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I'd
I
be
don't
so shocked if that ever happened.
All right, but anyway, that guy Zero also was a waste of time because it was the final battle and it was for nothing. They fought. He gave him opportunities. John Wick puts a sword through him,
Right.
and then the guy's done. And that's pretty much the fight.
Yeah.
And it was.
I didn't hate his character. I think overall, he did all right. And I think
I expected more from him. I thought he was gonna
Yeah.
really do something crazy,
Yeah.
and I thought John Wick was gonna be more like proving himself, not being given
Well,
the opportunities. but-
Considering the film, I think this is a quest for John Wick to find his identification. Like, it's kind of like a quest to identify who he is.
I could see
kinda.
that a little bit. Yeah, like you're saying for the next movie.
Right. Yeah.
I could see that. That was another thing also. I thought this movie was gonna be the last one. I really
Yeah.
thought we were gonna
Yeah, yeah.
we were gonna go watch the final John Wick. We were gonna be like, all right, this is it.
it'll be a great trilogy.
It'll create a great trilogy. I want to see how it finishes.
But
I want
then
to
they
see.
gave us another cliffhanger.
And
Exactly.
The ending of this was kind of pointless because it leaves you back to square one.
Yeah, it's like this movie never happened.
Well,
Yeah.
probably they're preparing for.
The-
I feel like they're gonna prepare for something.
Well, the only difference now is now he has other people on his side, all the people who paid their fealty. Everyone hates the High Table now, including Winston, who's the guy who shot him off the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody hates the High Table right now, and even the people who betrayed John Wick. I'm sure there's going to be something where they create a rebellion, even if John Wick is excommunicated.
True. All right. So, do you guys think we're gonna go see part 4?
Sure.
I'd
We're
be
not so
interested in
excited
seeing
now
it.
about part 4.
I'd be interested in seeing it if it brings something new to the table, because I feel like this could get repetitive, and I don't know how much longer this could go for.
Yeah.
Right.
If they do a part 4 and they're gonna which they are, but because it leaves it like that. But if they're gonna do a part 4 correctly, what they should do is, I'd like to see is a finale to John Wick, an exploration, a revelation of what was his real story, maybe more about his wife.
Yeah.
What was that motivation? What happened there? And then the high table. I just want to know who the high table is, and that
What
dude
is,
dude in the sand, the guy that was out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Like, who was that guy? There was a lot of things that they just left wide open. I'm like, I don't know.
What is the high
But I
table?
did enjoy it. I do recommend it. You guys recommend it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, probably solid 8.
Okay. Kiano, what's your rating?
Probably an 8. Not really a 9 because it wasn't phenomenally good, but it was phenomenal to the point of it being a great action movie.
Cool. I agree. 8. 8 is cool. 8's a good number for that. All right, guys.
8 is great.
Thank you guys for joining on this review.
Yeah.
Peace.